the Evolution Security Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Brian here with Eric and Aaron. We're all assembled this time. How's it going, guys?
Man, great to see you guys.
Yeah.
Yep, wonderful. Getting the crew all together tonight.
No, pretty cool, man. It's always a good time. So we're gonna keep this real brief. We'll have some accountability afterwards, but we're gonna move pretty quickly right into our interview tonight. We've got a pretty cool guest. Eric, why don't you give us a little brief description about what we're about to intake?
Yeah, so we've got Scott Jedlinski, also known as Jedi. Unfortunately, Brian and I could not be on the interview, so Aaron took the helm and gave us an incredible interview with arguably one of the best guys on RDOs on pistols. So, man, we're going to have a good time. I've already listened to the interview, just a little sneak, and it is an incredible interview that our audience is going to get a lot out of. So, without further ado, let's hit this interview with Scott Jedlinski.
All right, we have Scott Jedlinski, a.k.a. the Jedi. The way I like to think of him is think of your favorite world-class pistol instructor, and when they want to sharpen up their red dot game, they go to Scott. How you doing, Scott?
Oh, I'm well. I appreciate that intro. I don't know how true it is, but I appreciate it.
Well, I am very new to the red dot game, actually, as of a few months ago.
Yeah.
But I stumbled upon you just going through YouTube. And then seeing, I think the first thing I saw was a James Yeager video of him taking one of your courses. And
yeah, that's the first one you started off with, huh? That's interesting.
Yeah, but I went to many more too. But then, a gentleman I'm glad to be able to call a friend too is Craig Douglas. He
absolutely
recently took your class, I believe, and that was super cool. But
yeah, man,
Before we go into that, I'm just going to go do a little bit of your background and your accolades here. So you are a masterclass shooter in USPSA.
Yep.
And you were the 16th recipient of the FAST coin. And anybody that knows about that is the FAST drill, I believe, that Todd Green put together, or at least popularized.
Yep, he invented it, popularized it, and after his passing now, Ernest Langdon carries that torch.
Yes. And so you've taught all over the country, and I'm sure all over the world too, but some notable places that you've taught or agencies you've taught for is the Pentagon ERT, the U.S. Marshal Services, and the FBI National Tactical Training Unit, and the U.S. Border Patrol, just to name a few here. But before we get in here, why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit of a background, including maybe, if you don't mind, where you grew up and all that stuff and how it led you to where you are now.
Okay. All right, cool.
You don't have to talk about the hospital you were born in. We told that to Kyle DeFore.
Well, I know. I just listened to Kyle DeFore one, man. I wasn't born. Well, I guess I was born in a hospital. But anyway, so a little bit about me, right? So the first thing people notice when they see me is that I'm a very large Asian guy with a Polish last name. So my dad, he's a Polish bulldog from South Chicago, joined the Air Force, got stationed in Korea during the Vietnam War, met my mom, and they proceeded to have the largest half-breed Korean ever made. For those of you that have never seen before, I'm about 6'2", 300 pounds. Because of that confusion of the Korean eyes and the Polish last name, and nobody can pronounce my last name of Jedlinski, I've been Jedi since 1977. That's my nickname, and no, Jared Reston, I did not give that to myself. Anyway. So the other parts I tell about myself, I'm very clear about my background, right? So all of my pistol experience and yada yada does not come from LE. It does not come from the military, right? To stay in my lane, no experiences with that other than the stories told by my very high level face shooter friends, right?
Yeah.
What I do say is my background is lifelong martial artist, right? It starts off with Taekwondo. You have to, otherwise you get disowned in a Korean household. Wrestling, boxing, Muay Thai for the last upteenth years, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I say that because all the body mechanics I teach in my class to find the dot, track the dot in recoil, track it in transition, control recoil, yada, yada, yada. All those body mechanics come from those martial arts, especially Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep. And then, so the other accolades you've said, master class in carry optics, first person to ever win a fast coin with a red dot pistol. Up until about a month and a half ago, I was the only person. Then some other half Asian kid did it. So it must be a genetic thing, right? So started getting into back into shooting around 2010, 2011, up in where I live in Northern Virginia, technically Metro DC. It's impossible to train jiu-jitsu without training with law enforcement and military, whether it be local, state, or federal. Had a very good friend who was a member of the State Department's Mobile Security Division. He was like a 3-year white belt because he kept on getting deployed. I helped him get his blue belt. He repaid me back by introducing me to shooting. Very lucky I had an indoor range 5 minutes away from me. And in this area, training is plentiful because of all the retired face shooters, right?
Oh, wow.
Started getting into that. Somehow fell in with the guys at primary and secondary. They seemed to like me for whatever reason. Then the owner, CEO of primary and secondary, Matt Landfair, drug me kicking and screaming into teaching. And at first, I really didn't want to do it, right? Because I enjoyed my status as like an elite student shooter. You know what I mean? And I saw how instructors argued online about nonsense, right? And I'm like, nah, I don't need any of that. Well, he drugged me kicking and screaming, set up the class. All I had to do was find a range. I was like, let's do this. And you'll see it's going to fall on its face. 20-person class sold out in an hour. And ever since then, I haven't looked back. That first year, I think I taught, my first class was in, June of 2017. I think that year I taught 10 classes. Then the next year I taught 30. 2019, I think I taught 35. And then last year I taught 75. And according to my wife, I'm going to be teaching, I thought it was 85 classes, but she's like, no, it's closer to 100 this year.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, I would say with the bit I've learned about you and learned a lot from you already on YouTube, of course. And I can tell right away, I've been under the tutelage of lots of great teachers and lots of people I really look up to, but you do have a knack for teaching. So the way you put things across that, it's just so easy to see where you're going and understand the why behind what you're teaching your students.
But I appreciate that. Yeah.
Oh, it's just apparent. So it's awesome. Now, you, of course, teach lots of aspects of pistol craft. But, of course, you're so well known and you've evolved basically into one of the, as far as I know, one of the top red dot instructors in the country. Now, how did you move into that? What drove you in that direction?
Well, so again, Matt Landfair pushing me in. It was the right thing at the right time. So before I started doing this full time for about 26 years, I was a mortgage banker, right? And I was make fun of that in my classes, like, hey guys, if I can do it, you can do it. Because 26 years I was a mortgage banker. That's the opposite of high speed, right? So during that time, a lot of people don't know the way mortgage interest rate works, right? They all think it's tied to the prime rate, which is furthest thing from the truth. Basically, what it is when bad things happen to the economy, like Obama and COVID, right? Rates go down. When good things happen for the economy and business, rates go up. So even though that I was happy for my Second Amendment rights that Trump got into office, well, rates started going way up, and refinances, that was half my income went away.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, it was God's plan that all of a sudden this came in and made up the difference. So me getting into red dots was always like, so, the indoor range that I went to was about 2 light shades above the cave. And I did my best. I enjoyed it. But the first time I had a friend show up to the range with an FNX 45 tactical with a Burris fast fire on it. And I just, the clouds opened up and St. Michael started singing to me. And there was no looking back from there. Started looking at different resources. Then I found out there wasn't a lot of resources out there. So I figured out a lot of stuff on my own. Everybody had their own techniques of doing things. And honestly, where I found out how to do a lot of stuff was basically on my own with my own experimentation. When I finally realized that firearms in general, but especially pistol shooting, was just another martial art, and started applying a lot of my Jiu Jitsu techniques and references and lessons to it, is when that stuff started to take off. And then really honing it into competition. There's no, for a civilian, I don't think there's any better proving ground for techniques of performance and efficiency than competition, especially USPSA.
Boy, 100% agree. Yes.
Yep. And people always ask me like, well, why is that? Blah, blah, blah. It's just like, hey, man, they put everything's to a metric, right? I think what people learn is that after a while, human perception is a horrible shot time, right? Mm-hmm. What you think is fast is actually frenetic. What you think is slow might actually be efficient. And what you think is efficient is just horribly slow. So you have to have some measurement of metric. And that's why competition, why people get so much better so quickly, because you have a metric of people doing things better than you, showing you what's possible. And it's hard data. You can't argue it, right?
Yes.
Just like, Jiu-Jitsu is better than karate, right? Because, hey, no, I choked you out. There's no way around that, right? Mm-hmm. Where, like, well, even though I touched you on your chin with my knuckle, if I was going full power, I would have knocked you out. But you didn't knock me out. You didn't knock me out. Or just like, hey, slow is smooth is fast. If I'm doing this and I hit that thing and it takes me 5 seconds and then I search and assess, well, that makes me an operator. No, it doesn't. You're an accountant. Why are you doing that stuff? You know what I mean? And then, from there, you can take whatever you want from that competition and apply it to your practical application. You know what I mean? If it's just for competition, it's for competition. If you want to use it for self-defense, use it for self-defense. If you want to use it for your job, whether that's LE or MIL, then apply that. Shooting is shooting, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's just basically happened. And then, like I said before, I was doing about 30 civilian classes. Then LE started going crazy because they all want to get on the red dot as well, which is amazing. And so it's to the point now where, again, I don't know, I got 85 to 100 classes. I can't count that high. So it's all over the place. So.
Hey, everybody, Brian here. We're going to take a quick pause just to talk about Origin. I got my Path gi just this week, and let me tell you, I'm loving how light the fabric is. I upgraded to the Pro pants, and they are fitted. They are the most amazing gi pants I've ever seen or worn. And man, it's difficult to describe, and I'm going to do, like a full review after I've rolled in it for about a month, and we'll have a complete segment on it. But I got to encourage you to go look at that thing, man. It is a wonderful piece of work, and those Pro Pants upgrade is definitely worth it. They are super cool. So if you want to get into the game with Origin and a new gi or any of their supplements or rash guards, go to originmain.com and enter EvoSec10 at checkout for 10% off. And please, if you enjoy what you hear here, please give us a couple minutes of your time and write a review. Pop onto iTunes or whatever format you're on. But we want to definitely make this available to other people, and getting those reviews helps us become visible to new listeners just like you.
Well, so, and this is what, like I was saying earlier, what led me to you is that I believe November I got a Glock MOS 17 with the idea to go ahead and get a red dot and just see what this thing's about. And actually, mainly was for me to learn how to run a red dot for my own pistol instruction. And once I got that thing, it changed my life. I mean, and then, now tell me if I'm wrong about this, but so let me premise it this way. So all of a sudden in the last several months, I hear Ernest Langdon on Mike Seeklander's show talking about how it's changed his life. When, backing up, he said he cracked the code on how to get a dot on a Beretta 92. And then just a couple weeks ago, I hear Rob Latham talking about it, how irons are twice as hard to use, or twice as much work, Then again, Mike Seeklander, I see him online with the Glock MOS, and then Spencer Keepers is doing the same thing. So I did not notice all this red dot talk and or, coverage of all these guys that I really look up to until recently when I got mine. So am I wrong in saying that maybe in the last year there's been an exponential growth in guys that are finally jumping on the red dot train?
So I'll have to carefully phrase my answer on that, right? I don't want to make it sound like everybody was against it and now they're hopping on to it, right?
Yeah.
For some people, that's absolutely the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Latham's been shooting dots since the 90s, right? I don't know about Mike. I don't think Mike has, but he hasn't really had to. And so two things come for everybody, right? Arthritis and vision.
Yes.
Right? So, on the arthritis part, that's why Rob doesn't lock out his elbows anymore, right? Even though he said to do that for years and years and years, right? And then, you got Mike and stuff who has come over incredible challenges with being cross-eye dominant. Now you don't even know he's cross-eye dominant. But as everyone's vision deteriorates, the dot gets more and more attractive.
Yes.
Right. And I want to be very careful with that. Never would I say that I am even have a tenth of the instructing experiences those two great men have. Right. It's just that I would argue with anybody about teaching the red dot as far as my experience, right? As far as a national level guy, I think I was the first one to do it. And I think a lot of people are doing it now because they go, well, if this chump can be successful doing it, there must be something there. So I'm going to hop in. Right. Again, I'm not talking about Latham. I'm not talking about Seeklander stuff.
Yeah.
Those are amazing men and pioneers in a lot of things that we're doing. I think other people are doing that now. And, they're starting to see the benefits of the dot. And they're also seeing that it's not just about the dot. It's about body mechanics and things of that nature, right? The dot doesn't make you a better shooter automatically. It also doesn't make you a better instructor automatically. It also doesn't make you money automatically.
Yeah. So. Well, I guess another way that I could ask it is those guys are just some examples that made it real apparent to me that there's this shift. Maybe it is in the instruction world, but what about for students? Has it been real steady over the last year, or have you seen an increase in students over the last year or two? Again, it just feels like red dots they've been around for a long time. I took a class 10 years ago with that a guy had a RMR on his pistol, but he was the only one with one. But
sure.
But I mean,
sure, yeah. So, it's been steadily increasing in that as far as, so I'm very blessed. I'm very, very successful, right? So again, my class load seems to be doubling every year, right? It can't double any more than it is now. That's why I'm bringing on some trusted adjunct instructors to help me out with the load.
Excellent.
Right? It is, I don't know, how old are you?
I am 40.
You don't mind me asking?
No problem at all. I'm 47.
Okay, you're 47, so I'm 50, right? So we're basically in the same generation,
Oh, yeah.
things of that nature, right? It's just like when we grew up and people resisted going from typewriters to computers, or from manual transmissions to automatics, right? Once people got over the whole, well, I don't know about this thing, it keeps on crashing, or I like, a man drives a manual, blah, blah, blah. Once people got over that stuff and saw the benefits of the computer or the automatic transmission, it just exploded, right? I mean, like, do you, other than like your autofile, right? Do you know anybody that even owns a stick shift anymore?
Right now, I don't. And that's an aside. I am a huge Ferrari and McLaren fan.
Sure.
And I drove a manual until my last car. And it was because I enjoyed it, kind of a car guy. But what drove me over the edge was, well, someday if I get a Ferrari, I can't get a stick shift, so I better learn how to use these paddle shifters.
Right, and the height of Ferrari and McLaren F1 vehicles, right?
Yeah,
are automatics to a sense, right?
Yep.
I mean, yes, you have to hit a paddle, but there's no clutches involved anymore, right? So you can't argue that, right?
Right.
We've all had that thing of when switching from typewriters to computers. It's like, I'm better with, I know how to work this thing. That thing keeps on crashing and printing and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, that's not even a debate now, right? And all that is just, it's easier, right? It's easier to see one focal plane because that's how we naturally process information. It's easier to be target focused because that's what we're going to do. That's how we've been dispatching evil people for tens of thousands of eons, target focus. Right? And the dirty little secret is that the best iron sight shooters in the world, your Lathams, your Stegers, your Rakazas, your Coleys, your Vogels, they all shoot their irons target focus. Right?
Oh, wow.
But it took, oh, yeah, absolutely, 100%. Just ask any one of them. But it took years and years for them to develop that skill to be able to negotiate all those focal planes with a proper accommodation. Or you can take a red dot and do it right now.
Yeah.
Right? But the learning curve on a red dot, whether you're an experienced person or a beginner person, can be uphill if you don't have the proper instruction, right? And that's where I come in.
Like I said, I was just kind of going to get a red dot just to see what it was like. And I started learning real quick that it could teach me a better trigger press, that it taught me, of course, a better presentation, getting my grip better as I present, all kinds of things. But then I took it out and I shot it, and a few things that were my nemesis, I nailed. And it was the first time I shot it. So it was like, so I'm 47. I already, like I said a while ago, and I am one of the guys that has been hit with the vision issues. Actually, I've been having vision issues for a long time. I'm blind in my focal point for staring at the sun when I was 10. Yes, that can blind you. but and then just bad astigmatism and just with age, it's gotten worse. I was like, where the heck are my pistol skills going? No, I'm not a high competitor, but I'm usually doing pretty well at competition, and I've, at least in the upper quartiles of any group that I'm in. But then it started suffering. And then so I get this dot, and then all of a sudden, my skills come back. It's like, okay,
well, yeah, you can't see, you can't do anything.
Yeah, so how I could run a pistol, however, decently, it came back, not negated by my vision. I know that when I go further out 25 or so, my eyes still kind of hold me back a little bit, but not as much. So, but yeah, it really was a life changer. And so a few weeks ago, I got a new red dot. The first one I had was not up to snuff, and I got a new one of the Holosun 507Cs. I put it on my gun Thursday, zeroed it Friday, and then shot my best match ever that Saturday.
Yep.
And I mean, so it's a testament for sure. But which brings me to when it comes to a new shooter with the red dot, I kind of winged it on my own a little bit, and then again started looking at guys like you. But one of the key things, and I've really taken this to heart, it's the whole find the dot challenge, right? And I'm gonna premise what I'm talking about here by you saying that basically it's just simply do this: bring the pistol up to the eye line. And that, I believe, flows into how you often describe things or teach things from a proprioceptive index standpoint. Yep. And, I mean, that fascinates me, like you talked about, basically just sports anatomy, or how our anatomy works in sports. Now, how does that proprioceptive index differ from, say, what most people know as muscle memory, or what we actually know as myelination?
Well, right, yeah. So here's a funny thing. Let's talk about muscle memory and myelination, right? So muscle memory is the classic term. I used to get, wrapped around the axle, just like when your non-gun friend says clip and you yell at the magazine, right? And then I would say the process of myelination until last November, when I got scolded by a neurosurgeon in my class and saying, like, myelination isn't right either. That's like you describing an entire picture with just a corner of the picture.
Interesting.
Right? And I said, so what would be a better term? He's like, I don't know, man. Something like cortical plasticity. But even that's not right. Again, it's at a huge map. Basically what it is that you hardwiring things to the subconscious, right? And proprioception are things that are, I don't want to use the word innately because you've been building them since you were a baby, right? But, and I get blamed for using big words, much like my friend Aaron Cowan. I use big words because I'm lazy, right? And proprioception simply means you know where things are on your body at all times without looking, right? At a point in time, you know where your nose, chin, elbow, butt, all that stuff is, right? Unless you're drunk.
Yeah.
And then the police have a test for that, right? Right. So all I'm thinking is, why do we need to rewire things, right? For example, right? The classic thing of everyone needs to punch out on the presentation, punch out, punch out. But when you punch out, right, what happens? If you just take your finger and punch out, your finger moves all over the place, right? Because your body doesn't know what's out there, right? So you have that shake, wobble, seismic activity. But if you just take the gun and you raise it up to your eye, there is no shake because your eye line is a proprioceptive index, right? And what I tell people to do is do this, man. Just go ahead and point at anything. Point at me. And people point at me. And I go, did you miss? And I'm like, no. I go, did you practice pointing last night? No. Now punch out at me and see if your finger is right on target. And it never is, right? There's always that shake and wobble at the end. And I go, now that we're getting back to one focal plane shooting, we don't need to do all the goofy things that we did to negotiate 3 focal planes. So just point the gun, right, up to your dominant eye and stop moving anything else. So you probably saw the video I did. There were like 2 USPSA targets behind me and yada, yada. Was that video that you saw?
I don't recall that, but there's been about 4 or 5, and it was mainly about presentation. So
Okay.
It was like 4 series, yeah.
Yeah, so I've even refined that a little bit more. So we're going to give you a podcast exclusive.
Awesome.
Right? So here's what you need to find the dot on everything, right? Stop moving extra axes. The only axes you need to move are your arms. Stop moving your head. Stop leaning forward. Stop putting your shoulders into your ears and stop squatting. Just move your arms, which is one axis, up to your eye. When you're doing it, you're going to do what I call the 4 P's to find the dot. That is, present the pistol, prep the trigger. At about 80% of your presentation, use support hand pinky pressure to drop the dot from 12 o'clock. When the dot drops where you want it to be, press the trigger.
So you're saying that it's going to drop down through the window?
From 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
Every single time. So what did I just do there? I eliminated 359 degrees of variability.
Interesting.
Right? And what else did I do there, right? So you do jiu-jitsu, right?
Yes.
No? You do?
Yes.
Okay. So what do we always say in jiu-jitsu, right? It's not the strongest guy who wins. It's not the fastest guy who wins. It's the guy that's 3 steps ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So by knowing that by only moving one axis and you doing those 4 Ps, present, prep, pinky, press, you are now 3 steps ahead of your dot. And the next step is performance, because you know what things, already know things are going to happen the way you want them to. Do it right now. You got your gun with you?
Yep.
Yep. Do it right now. Just bring it up to a compressed high ready. Bring it out. Present, prep, pinky, press.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. So the interesting thing is I've been practicing just kind of like what you said. I've got a good friend named Mike Brown that says put that plate in front of your nose, but what you said to me made the most sense, which is bring it to your eye line, but the extra little step with that pinky and then rolling down from 12 o'clock, you're always going to find the dot.
Yep. And the pinky is the most underestimated digit on your whole hand. To me, pinky is what drops the dot down and it controls recoil.
Now,
everybody focuses on the thumb and the fulcrum. You concentrate on your pinky and your gun will shoot flat.
And you're saying the pinky on the support hand?
Only the support hand.
Interesting, yeah.
All your firing hand does is pull the trigger. Your firing hand is the gas. Your support hand is the steering wheel.
Yeah, I think I've heard you say a few times, your support hand ain't doing shit. I think.
Well, no, your firing hand isn't doing shit.
Okay, is that what it was?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Your firing hand. Yeah, your firing hand isn't doing shit. For example, you got your gun right now, right?
Yep.
I know the audience can't see it, but we'll have to take your word for it, right? So do me a favor, find the dot.
All right.
You got it.
Yep.
Relax your support hand and squeeze the shit out of the gun with your firing hand.
Okay.
Got it.
Yep.
That thing moving like you got Parkinson's?
Yeah, it moved about an inch in front of my eyes.
Well, don't pull the trigger. Just keep it in front of you.
Okay.
Right? Relax your support hand. Squeeze it with your support hand. Or relax your support hand and squeeze it with your firing hand.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Dot's moving a lot, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now, relax your firing hand and squeeze it with your support hand. What's happening?
It's staying steady.
It's staying steady. So why would I squeeze it with my firing hand, causing a conflict with the mobility of my trigger finger, making it move more before recoil even becomes an issue, when I can apply the same amount of pressure with my support hand? Your support hand is closer to the bore axis than your firing hand. That's why it's steady. The other thing is, so we're alphas, right? We're gun people, so we're alphas. So we think if a little work is good, a lot of work must be great. The problem with that is this. So do me a favor.
Yep.
Just flex your upper body as hard as you can. Now try and do a jumping jack. What's that feel like? It's horrible, right?
Yes.
What's that feel like? Trigger freeze?
Yes.
That's what it feels like. So while you're firing hand, all it does is provide a backstop high onto the gun and pulls the trigger. Recoil control and everything else is your support hand. Once you understand that, you start shooting flatter and faster.
Interesting.
And your thumbs don't do anything. Get your thumbs out the way.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about that when you're talking about the presentation, where you place your thumb when you're getting your grip on the pistol. But interesting.
Yep. Thumbs are only strong when you can close a circuit. Right? When your thumb can meet the other fingers and curl around, you don't do that on a pistol. You can't close a circuit on a pistol. Right? Think about this, right? You know how to do a Kimura, right?
Yes.
Which one do you do? Do you do with the thumb or do you do a monkey grip with the Kimura?
Let's see here. I think I use a monkey grip.
You use a monkey grip because you can hold on to it forever because your thumbs don't do anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because on a Kimura, unless he's got super skinny wrists, you can't close that circuit. So all you wind up doing is fatiguing yourself. Right?
Yeah.
So you go to a monkey grip without your thumbs and you can hold on to it forever, just like a pistol.
Or in just
Besides, think about it.
Or in just like when we do something as simple as a clinch using monkey grip.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So
exactly. Right. Everybody focuses on their thumbs when they're trying to grip a pistol. All that does is your firing hand thumb pushes your support hand down. So forget your thumbs, get them out of the way.
Interesting. Well, it's fun getting a little lesson here with my pistol in hand. And
yeah, man. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm so confident in it. I can tell you to do it. I'm not even looking at you, and I know it's going to work.
Awesome.
So,
well, thanks for that so much. And I think, people got a lot of stuff for free there, so that's pretty cool.
Okay, folks, we're going to take a quick break and talk about one of our sponsors, one of our incredible sponsors, and that is Tenicor at tenicor.com. That's TENICOR.com. Check them out. They just released the new Pharaoh 2 magazine pouch. Man, it's about time. I think we're also going to give Jeff Mao, we're going to give a shout out to him. We're going to give him a little bit hard time. We're looking for those belts, Jeff. But we're glad to see that the mag pouch is out there. I'm going to jump on there and order a couple of those immediately. So if anybody out there wants one of those Pharaoh 2s or a Velo 2 or a Khartoum 3, a Velo 4 that is, use EvoSec at checkout for 10% off.
Now, so moving on to you can forgive me if it wasn't you that said it, but I'm pretty sure you did. It's the new 9 versus 45. That whole argument that any of us that have been around for a while just want to puke if someone talks about it. But
sure.
Now I believe you've said it was the 10-yard versus 25-yard zero.
Oh, yeah.
So now, since I've been learning it a little bit from you, I've been using a 10-yard zero, and now could you maybe describe the benefits of that? And let me be clear: when you teach it, you teach the 10-yard zero, but a confirmation at 25. But if you could just explain some of the benefits and why you do choose that.
Sure. Yeah. So here's the whole thing, man. We go down this road of what all the cool guys say without understanding why they say it. Okay. And everyone thinks I'm against the 25-yard zero. I'm not against the 25-yard zero, but do you need it? Do you have the marksmanship skills? Do you have the resources to have a 25-yard zero? Right. So, for example, right, you know how many ranges I've seen that aren't 25 yards? They're 15, they're 20, they're 22, they're not 25. Does that mean we just need to give up? Right?
Yeah, no,
right? And if you look at what are people's most practical applications for having a gun? Self-defense, right? We can probably agree based on FBI stats and things of that nature, right, that most self-defense shootings are 10 yards and in. Some would even argue 5 yards and in, right? But, a 5 or 7 yard zero really isn't a zero. The differences out at distance are too extreme, okay? So if you take a 10-yard zero and you have the appropriate amount or you have the acceptable level of accuracy, right? So the guys that like to shoot 25 because they're mimicking some other guy, their hero on the internet or whatever, right? The reason why they poo-poo the 10 is they use the same target at 25 and they use it at 10, which is an NRI B8, right? And their goal for zeroed is 3 rounds in the X-ring. Well, an X-ring is 1.72 inches. At 10 yards, that's not a zero. That's a coordinate, right? So what I do in my class is I have a 1-inch square, right? And you need to put 3 rounds in that 1-inch square. If you can't do it, I help you do it in class. We get through everybody through there, okay? Then we go back to the 25 yard. And if you've ever seen my targets, especially the new targets, my logo that's on there, the black circle that's the background for my logo is the exact size of the black ring on a B8. So 5.25 inches, it's the 9 ring. So I tell them, look, so we're pretty much at a 10-yard zero unless you're already at a 25, right? We're going to put the dot in the middle of the logo and you're going to shoot 3 rounds and let's see what happens. What invariably happens, right, is that the greatest variable is not the zero. It's the shooter, the gun, and the ammo. Okay. In a perfect world, like for example, let me ask you, in a perfect world, right? Do you know where a 10-yard zero prints at 25 yards?
Absolutely not.
0.7 inches high.
Okay.
So that means if you have perfect marksmanship and you put the dot on a dude's nose, it's going to hit him in the middle of his nose. Do you have more important things to worry about than that?
Yes.
Yes, you do. Unless your life is all about shooting B8s, right? And anything less than a 98 is unacceptable. The crazy thing is I do demos in my class, in my 3-day class where I shoot B8s, and I get 95 pluses all the time with the 10-yard zero. The final thing is I say is this, right? The 10-yard zero doesn't pay me, right? Just like the 25-yard zero doesn't pay me. I tell people that you need to base it on your practical application. If it's self-defense, well, most of those are 10 yards and in, right? Don't mess with holdovers or hold unders 10 yards and in. Maybe the 10-yard zero is more appropriate for you, but you better know where it prints and how your gun shoots at 25, because like Colonel Cooper said, statistics are cold comfort for the man that just got hit by lightning.
Yes.
Right? The final thing I say in my class about that is this: like, I honestly don't care, right? You need to know the history of the 25-yard zero. The 25-yard bull comes completely from competition. There's nothing tactical about it, right? When they started doing these things, the B8 has been around for iterations of 100 years, right? It started out at 20. You know why they moved it to 25? Because everybody was killing it at 20, right? On the X ring, everybody was tying and you couldn't get any clear winner. So they just moved it back 5 yards. And then everybody started killing it at that distance. So what did they do? Instead of moving it 5 yards, what did they do? They doubled it. That's why the next bullseye target is at 50 yards, right? The 25 could have very easily been 30. 35, 40, but it was 25. So when people get wrapped around the axle about the 25-yard bull and 25-yard zero, I find it hilarious.
Well, so what you're saying basically is it's already an arbitrary number.
Right. It's an arbitrary number. Now, if you want to do it, knock yourself out. That's fine. That's absolutely fine, right? But to this day, I shoot 90s, 95s, 97s cold first thing in my class when I run a 3-day class with a 10-yard zero. How is that possible? Because here's the thing that I always say in my class. Like, look, guys, I don't care what zero you have. Because here's the deal. If you can shoot, your zero really doesn't matter. If you can't shoot, your zero really doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you could have the most perfect bench rest, ransom rest, 25-yard zero on the face of the earth. But if you can't shoot, your zero doesn't matter.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if you've got a good solid support hand grip and a good trigger press straight to the rear, and you got a dirty 10-yard, you're going to be shooting 90 plus at 25 yards.
Yeah.
As long as you have a respectable gun.
Interesting. Now, kind of going back to the way that you teach the 10-yard when in your classes, do you say that you do that 10-yard offhand, no bench.
Correct.
Now, is that the way you have your students do it in class?
Yep. 100%. Yep.
And how often do they have trouble doing that until you help them tighten it up?
I really haven't taken statistics on that. I will tell you, 1 out of every, say, 5 students, I've got to do it. Right.
Oh, you have to do it like you have to.
Yeah,
I see.
Yeah, I take their gun and I do it.
Yeah.
Right.
But you're just teaching them that method and giving them a chance to prove that to themselves that they can do that.
Yeah. Because here's the deal, man. If you can't hit a 1-inch square at 10 yards, you're certainly not going to hit, a 5-inch circle at 25.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I still need to build up the skills in you in order to do that. Let's make sure we have at least a good platform at a 10-yard zero to help you out with that. Right. And then it's not you. Right. Or it is you, not your zero that's doing it. Does that make sense? And as far as the bench thing goes, man, I tell all my friends, I got plenty of friends that love the 25-yard zero. Bill Blowers, Chuck Pressburg, John Dufresne and stuff like that. The problem is that nobody tells anybody the process of bench resting at a 25-yard zero. Right? For example, do you know that process?
Oh, I do not. I know I grab some support and a sandbag, and I put my pistol in the sandbag. That's about it.
Right, but the dot has to be in the glass, and the target has to be at the same level as your eye.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Did you know that?
No, I didn't. So, in other words, you need to set that bench up and make sure that target is at the level of your eye within, and the dot needs to be aligned. Is that what you're saying? So basically,
Correct.
three planes that need to be aligned.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Correct. Right, because if the target is high and you're milking the gun, well, you're not milking it, but you're pointing it up. Right, and on a bench rested thing, that's not good. And so, all I'm saying it to my buddies is like, why don't you do a video on that? Right, because all these people think they have a 25-yard zero, then they get it, and then they stand up, and because the planes are different, when they shoot, it doesn't work. Right, so that means they can't shoot. Well, why don't you start off at 10 yards then? Right, give them an achievable thing, build up the marksmanship, and then go back to 25. Right,
so
it also depends on the gun too. It also depends on the gun. I will tell you that the difference between a Glock at 10 and 25 yards could be between 0.7 and 1.5 if you do everything. The difference between a 10-yard zero and a 25-yard zero with a Walther is almost next to nothing.
Oh, wow.
Because it's so much more of an accurate gun.
Interesting. Well, that is an excellent segue to what I was going to ask you about. I was going to ask you about your involvement with Walther on developing that PDP pistol.
Yeah. What a great adventure that was. So one of the things I learned about this industry, right, and this means no disrespect, it is what it is, right? But after coming from corporate America for 26 years, then you get into the firearms industry and you quickly learn that it is held together with spit and duct tape. Right? Everything's like a handshake here, a promise there, blah, blah here and there, right? And the thing I love about Walther is everything was very corporate. Not meaning stiff, but, they slow rolled the whole thing. First met Cody Osborne at Shooter Symposium 2 years ago. He's like, hey, man, you mind if I send you a gun for you just to check out? And I'm like, absolutely, man. Right? He's like, no strings attached. Just want you to, see what you think. Right? I'm like, okay. So they sent me a PPQ and a Q5. I gave them my thoughts on it. Cool. Cody's a shooter, and that was the first thing that struck me about him. And then he's like, hey, dude, we're starting this defense division, man. 2 of your friends, Bill Blowers and Jim Dexter, are already on it. Would you like to join? And I'm like, hey, man, you've been a good dude. I'm super, super interested in it. But I got a couple questions for you. First one, am I going to be able to have involvement in anything you guys are creating? He's like, absolutely. That's why we're bringing this team up. Okay. And then we talked about all the details and stuff like that and blah, 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 and all that compensation, blah, blah, blah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, here's the other thing, man. I'm always a function over fashion guy, but fashion's kind of important too.
Yeah.
Right.
I hear you.
So, yeah. So, I go, here's the thing I don't understand, man. How is the PPQ basically the same gun as the VP9, but the VP9's not ugly? Right?
Yeah.
So if I'm going to help you with anything, the new gun can't be ugly. He's like, it won't be ugly, yada, 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 right? So at that time, Cody had already come to my class in Prescott, Arizona. We had a great time. He threw the beginning ideas out at me. I said, here's what I'd like to see. So the two design features that I'm kind of credited with is at the bottom of the front strap of the gun. There's that little swoop around the pinky area, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that you can, so it adds extra leverage to your pinkies. And the second one is they were going to have a beaver tail in that plastic gun like they did the Q4 and Q5. And I said, no, I will cut that thing off. Love you guys, but personally, I think beaver tails and striker fire guns are dumb. That's me, right? That's me. So they took those two things to heart and include that into the design. And super happy with the gun, man. Super, super happy with it.
Well, one of the things that strikes me as I'm looking at my new, like I told you, I got that new 17 and MOS and put a dot on it. Of course, right out of the box, Glocks are never ready for serious shooting without a grip job.
Yeah.
And so one of the first things I noticed was that crazy tetrahedron grip texture. I was curious who came up with that because
I don't know, man. It's crazy, right?
How does it feel?
It feels amazing. It's absolutely amazing. If you look at it, it almost looks like a whole bunch of like Mercedes-Benz emblems on there, right? I would tell you that, I don't want to take away work from my buddy Ben Simonson over Boresight Solutions, but this is about as close to a factory grip that you're going to get that you don't need to do anything to.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep. You don't need to do anything to it, man. Now, if you want a little bit more grippy, then you send it off to Ben at Boresight and he'll do some things for you and stuff like that. But as far as a factory one, like the M&P 2.0 is pretty awesome, but it's almost too grippy.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you're carrying appendix, it's going to rip up your shirt. This does not do that.
Well, that's cool. I'll have to get my hand on one of these days, and I'm looking at the pinky swoop as you described it here. Yeah,
yep.
It is a great looking gun, and I'm glad you were able to, because to me, I am a Glock guy, but they certainly don't send them out in their boxes ready for serious shooters, just to be frank. Right. I mean,
Glocks are the Honda Civic of the gun world, right? You can make that thing as fast and durable as you want to, but you've got to do something to the pistol.
Yep.
So,
yep. Well, so as we're getting pretty close to using up enough of your time, Scott, but I did want to ask you a couple of things more here. The benefits, or if it was up to you, would you run a milled slide or a modular system like, say Glock or any of the other, SIG systems, even on the Walther that you have, pluses, minuses, etc.?
Man, so that line or that divide between those two ways of mounting the red dot are getting thinner and thinner and thinner, right? For example, it depends on the model, right? Depends on the gun, okay? So, for example, if you take Glock, right? are you going to ask me, do you want a milled Glock or do you want the MOS system? My answer is always going to be milled,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm not a fan of the MOS system, but if I had to have an MOS system, the best way to make that thing run is to put a C&H plate on it, right?
Okay, so, and that, I don't want to get on a tangent, but there is another plate that I could run on it, you're saying?
Oh, sure. Yeah. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So, M&P, right? I have a couple M&P 2.0s around here that I have C&H plates on, and they're awesome, right? But my first choice for an M&P would be to have it milled, right? A CZ, so take the P10, right? Their factory mounting solution is fine. FN is probably, with the 509 pistol, was probably the most advanced factory mounting system for an optic out there. Tom over there took incredible care when they launched that out, and at the time was a trendsetter on factory mounting systems. Okay, so an FN factory mounting system versus a milled FN, don't care. Right? Except with the FN factory system, I have several different plates that I can mount anything on. Right?
Yeah.
Then, you got the Walther PDP. The Walther PDP is probably the deepest factory cut with modular plates available. Right? And because of that, because it's so deep, because the plates are a tight fit right into that deep pocket on there, milling. I mean, you really can't mill a PDP because they're all come optics ready, right? But if someone said, hey, you can have this PPQ that's milled or a PDP with their factory system, I'm like, I wouldn't care. I take the PDP because it's not ugly. But I really wouldn't care. So it depends on the model. It depends on the manufacturer and which my answer would be, right? At the end of the day, though, any factory option that needs help is going to have a C&H Precision Weapon Systems plate available for it. And in full disclosure to your audience, I have a financial relationship with C&H. I'm one of their, whatever you want to call it, ambassadors, shooters.
Yeah, you're gonna have to point me to it because I've got a Tom Givens instructor class coming up, and I'm wanting my pistol running as good as possible. And I do have a 19 being milled right now. I'm just hoping it comes back before that course. But yeah, I'd love for you to, because I've looked at C&H plates, but I guess I'm looking in the wrong spots because I'm not seeing what I think I should see. So yeah, maybe you can point.
Okay, so you have a 19 MOS, right?
Okay, so my 17 is an MOS. Gen 5 MOS, okay. And then after learning more about the fact that the MOS is not the greatest system, and that's fine, but I after doing my homework a little more, I said, okay, I've got my Carry 19 Gen 3. Man, I'm just going to send this off, mill it for another Holosun, and I'm just waiting on it to get back.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's fine, but you still got that 17.
Yep.
Right? Yep. And so you have, Glock MOS, you have a 17. I'm just going to send you the link here.
Oh, cool.
Yep. And you have a Glock 17. And what kind of optic do you want to put on it?
It's a Holosun 507C.
Okay. Holosun. Yep. You just got to click a couple things and it will come up. And so the biggest thing is that the stock MOS plate from Glock, right? It's a MIM part, which whatever, plenty of good things come out of MIM parts, right? People get wrapped around the axle about that, but it's more plastic than it is metal. And if you torque down on it too hard, the ends start to bow up. And the best you're going to get is 3 thread engagements, right?
Wow.
On the screw. Where with the C&H plate, they have T-nuts that come up, right, and meet the screw. So you get 7 thread engagements there.
And I think this is what I saw Mike Seaclander talking about on.
Yeah. So Mike has sent his guns and stuff like that to C&H, from what I understand.
Yeah. So you said you sent me that link. Is it?
I'm going to do it right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me respond to everybody. There you go.
Movie magic right here, guys. You get to hear us hunt down gear here. What's cooler than gear, right? To us gun guys,
hitting the target fast and accurate.
You're right, buddy. You had to make me feel bad for that.
Sorry.
No. We're on the same page, brother.
Good deal.
As you're
just emailed it to you.
Awesome. Now, so then one more thing on along those lines. But do you have now? You can shoot this question down if you want, or just say here's what you dig. But do you have any optics that you recommend?
Yeah. So my top 3 right now, and again, I try and stay kind of agnostic to sights.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I will tell you right now, if I had a pecking order, that pecking order right now for my current use would be a Holosun 509T.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The second one would be a Trijicon RMR. Right. And then the third one would be a Trijicon SRO. Right. The 509T kind of offers the best of all worlds. Good battery life, closed emitter in case, you get into that gunfight in the middle of a blizzard that's full of mud and blood and blah, blah, blah. And you have to have a closed emitter. But the big thing is that the window size is very generous, right? So that's why it's my number 1 choice right now. That could change, right? Number 2 is the RMR, just because it's been around the longest and it is proven to be as bomb-proof as humanly possible, right? Number 3 is the SRO, not as durable as the first 2, but man, that big window sure makes people much more relaxed, so that in class they're listening to the words that are coming out of my mouth. And, I think people get wrapped around the axle about Aaron's test. Aaron's a friend of mine. His test is a test just to kind of show durability of it. But if you don't drop your gun a lot or, do weird stuff a lot, then I don't really think that his drop test is applicable for most people. Right. And that big window is just awesome. Everybody else kind of an also ran, when Aimpoint finally gets their acro battery life thing figured out, which I think is going to be in the next couple months or so. The rumor is they're able to fit a 2032 in there, or so their website has leaked. If Delta Point has or Loophole has figured out how to make their battery contacts more durable, and they've got to realize how to make that optic shorter. Right, because right now running backup irons on that, which I believe in, your backup irons have got to be the size of the Sears Towers, right, to accommodate the Delta Point. Everybody else is an also ran SIG optics. Meh, if they last, it's a surprise.
Wow.
In my classes and stuff like that, I think the SIG Romeo Pro, after 100 reiterations of the SIG Romeo, is finally where it needs to be, right? If someone came to my class with a Romeo Pro, I would say, okay, cool. Don't make it through the class. But I don't get hot and bothered over SIG optics. The only optic that I hate, that I will make fun of you if you bring it to my class, is any variation of the Shield RMS. It's a horrible optic, top to bottom. Yeah, and that includes the SIG Zero, which is just a rebranded Shield RMS. It's a horrible optic. It's not durable. The glass is plastic, not glass. There's no inscriptions on it. There's no tactile audible chain clicks on the elevation or windage, and they always break in my class, and they always take much longer to zero than everybody else does. So That's the only optic that I hate.
Oh,
So.
well, it's awesome to get your experience on that. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to have to look for one of your classes because, man, I'm ate up with this red dot thing, especially as a instructor myself, and then as someone that's just wanting to bring back my skills of running a trigger and holding a gun, right? And my eyes don't hold me back as much. But okay, Scott, man, just an excellent time hanging out and chatting with you. We're here towards the close here, but I have what is well known as the most important question on our show.
Okay.
It is, what are your 3 favorite bands or musicians?
Oh, that's, I looked at that and I was like, oh, what is this guy doing to me? Right. An easier one is if I had like the 3 top ones in different genres.
Hey,
and stuff like
answer
that.
it how you want, buddy. You don't.
Well, yeah.
This is a fun question because because we have all these tactical shows and there's a lot of great ones out there, but a lot of the times it's tactical the whole time.
No, I hear you.
And so we bring this up to see, some guys like Mike Seaclander, oh man, that stumps me. And then guys will just go, Paul Sharp, holy cow, man.
Paul has horrible taste in music.
Okay,
horrible.
So now
all the hair bands start getting in there. It is amazing how the man is the size of a gorilla with the grip of a vice, and he likes all these hair bands. It drives me nuts.
Okay, so we opened up a can of worms here because you're pretty serious. So let's have it. Answer it any way you want.
So it's the funny thing. So the top 3 are all going to be variations of the same thing. Okay?
Let's do it. Yeah.
So, favorite band of all time, Black Sabbath.
Okay.
Second favorite band of all time, Black Label Society.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Zakk Wylde.
Third. Yep. And third of all time is Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
Except for what was his hair metal album? The one with Shot in the Dark. Something Universe. Where's the Something Universe? You know what I'm talking about? Hold on. I'll tell you right now because it's going to drive me crazy. And everybody needs to know that was his worst album.
Is it one of the ones with Jakey Lee on it?
Yes. Ozzy. The audience is like, all right, you guys lost me.
Hey, and that's fine. So, but then a lot of people dig this too. So if you listen to the music on this show, that's me and my brother. And we're both musicians, and that's why we go along these lines. And so as you're looking that up, yes,
Ultimate Sin. Ultimate Sin.
Okay,
yeah, that is Ozzy lost his mind and went from tattoos and spitting blood to glitter and Aquanet.
Oh wow.
Horrible.
Well,
yeah. Other than that album, all good.
Well, so interesting enough. So many people wouldn't understand this necessarily, but. So all 3 of those are connected in one way, and so you've got Black Sabbath and Ozzy, of course, both Ozzy, and then you got Black Label Society with Zakk Wylde, who I would say is easily his best guitar player he's ever had. Just
that'd be a great argument, right? I mean,
Randy Rhoads, I know.
Yeah, I'm not a musician, but I can talk a lot of shit about that. I think Jakey Lee got caught in a horrible time, right? So there were a whole bunch of hair metal bands out there that were amazing musicians like Warrant.
Yeah.
They just got caught in the worst time ever for metal.
Yeah. Oh, I agree completely.
Cinderella, another amazing band.
Tesla.
Right? Tesla. Tesla did a pretty good job not to go full retard with the stuff. You know what I mean? But Warrant, man, what an amazing, amazing band that was just stuck in the worst time of music for.
And you know what? Another band from them kind of got that is actually Winger. Now set aside Winger, Kip Winger himself.
Yeah.
The band.
No, I get you.
Reb Beach on guitar, and then
Sure.
the drummer, Rob Morgenstein, killer band.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got lumped in there and got swept out of the way by Nirvana. So,
Oh, God bless Nirvana.
well, hey,
I got to tell you, the day that No More Tears came out, which was Zakk Wylde's premiere album with Ozzy.
yes, sir.
I dropped to my knees and said, "Thank baby Jesus." Right? And then when Teen Spirit came out, I was like, finally, because for the previous 10 years, man, I mean, you're probably going to cut this off because it's all horrible.
No,
but
this is
for
awesome.
the previous 10 years, I was all punk rock and gangster rap, man, because that's where I had to go to get my angry music. You know what I mean?
Instead of She's Only 17.
Yeah, exactly, right? And I mean, thank God for Metallica and Pantera during that time.
Oh, yeah.
If it
Eric,
if it wasn't for those two.
My brother right now is like jumping up and down. So just so you know.
Oh, because he's mad, or
no, because you brought up Metallica and Pantera.
Pantera is easily one of the greatest bands ever. I mean, but I didn't find Pantera until my early 20s, mid 20s, right? And Black Sabbath and Zakk Wylde and Ozzy had already gotten their hooks into me. So
that's, man, amazing conversation. See, when you started to answer that, I thought, oh no, he's going to be like, here, let me tell you this. Masad Ayub said he wouldn't answer that question.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'll answer all these, but I'm not going into music. But man,
Nice.
What an honor to have him on the show for sure. We need to ask him back again. But it seems like I was going to say something about the music too again. But yeah, it's okay. So,
What, you thought it was going to be something else? What did you think I was going to be, like something else?
No, I literally at first I thought, okay, he's gonna go, man, I'm just not into music. I saw that question. I thought, man, what's this guy doing? We're talking about shooting.
Never trust anybody who's not into music.
Amen.
Never trust them. Like, their soul is dead.
Oh, I know what I was going to say real quick, and we'll let you go, buddy. A really cool memory was one night, and I was in this pretty crappy relationship, and my twin brother calls me and says, "Hey, buddy," and I'm talking about my twin brother right on the show. He calls me and says, "Hey, Aaron, my buddy pulled out. Can't go to this Pantera concert tonight. You want to go?" Man, yes, I'll go. And so in about 30 minutes, my bro picks me up and we go rock out to Pantera. And I wake up in the morning with whiplash, and I'm not kidding, because you couldn't go there without banging your head, right? I mean, people.
Oh, it's just, yeah. I mean, I've never been to a Pantera concert. And I think that time has passed since, Dimebag got murdered and stuff like that. But I would love to go to that. You want to hear my funny concert story?
Let's hear it, man.
So we moved out here to Virginia 2003, 2004, something like that, right? And I had a nephew who was really into metal, like myself, and he wanted to go to Ozfest, right? So I was out here in Virginia, so nobody wanted to take him, so I said, I'll take him, right? We just moved out here, right? I took a day off from my job and we went. And the real reason why I went is because it was going to have, on the main stage was Black Label Society, Judas Priest, and the original Black Sabbath.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yeah. So done deal. Let's do this. Right. So then they have the second stage, which out in the field, which was then Jiffy Lube Live Stadium, or whatever it was called. And they had a couple of, like, the newer hardcore bands, Devil Driver, Hatebreed, OTEP. Right. And it was like, whatever, a lot of screaming, whatever. But the main stage, right, the main one on the second stage was Slipknot. Right. And I had heard a couple of their songs and blah, blah, blah. Right. So my nephew's in there. He's about, 15, 16. I'm keeping my eye on him. He's in a pit. Right. Because I grew up, in the punk days. I was a sponsored skater, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, cool.
Just keeping my eye. I was keeping my eye on him. Right. Because he was a thin chap. Right. So the way they would do it is that they play the show. Right. Or they do their set. About 20 minutes later, the next band would come out. The next minute, Next 20 minutes, another one would come out, right? And the pit was probably, let's say, 15 circular yards, right? For the pit, right? Easy day, easy to manage, right? So we're there, and then the feels like, all right, everybody, Slipknot is next. Everybody gets primed up. And then literally 3 minutes later, boom, Slipknot comes out. That pit goes from 15 yards to 75 yards.
Oh, wow.
Right? The whole field is nothing but a pit, right? I go from being off the edge to in the inside. Now, look, man, I have old days of being in the pit, right, and moshing plenty of good times, right? But I got bad knees, and I wasn't doing it. And all of a sudden, I see my nephew go down.
Oh, shoot.
Right? So I run in there, picking him up by the nape of his neck, throwing him over my shoulder, throwing chicks and dudes. You got Hot Topic labels here and all this other crap going all over the place until we finally get out. Right? It was the most fun I'd had in years.
Oh, awesome.
Right? Just throwing kids all over the place, trying to save my nephew's life. Right? And he goes, "That was amazing." I go, "Yeah, it was cool, wasn't it?" He's like, "Can I go back in?" I'm like, "Yeah, knock yourself out, kid." And they put on a great show, man. They put on a great show. Not the biggest fan of their music and stuff like that, nor I have since they've kind of mellowed out in a bit, man. But the energy of that crowd was unbelievable. So, and then after that was done, and then we got to watch Black Label Society and Judas Priest and Black Sabbath, and my 15-year-old nephew got to hear me scream like a high school cheerleader.
The only
when my bands came off.
The only way to do it, man, have some fun and embarrass yourself, because that's...
Oh, it was horrible. He goes, "Hey, Uncle Scott, what song do you want them to play for Black Sabbath?" Right? I go, "Yeah, they probably won't play it, but if they played Into the Void, that would be amazing." Not 2 minutes after I say that, boom, they go into the Void, and I start screaming like a freshman in prom.
Rock on. That's great.
It was awesome.
Very, very good, and a surprising music conversation. So
yeah, there you go.
That's awesome, Scott. Well, again, if someone, so you are known as the Jedi, and that nickname, like you said, came from long ago, not even during your shooting instruction. But can you let everybody know where they can find you and find out about your classes?
Yeah, sure. So if you put in Modern Samurai Project into anywhere in Google, you'll find me. It's my YouTube channel. It's my Instagram. On Facebook, it's Modern Samurai Project LLC. You'll find me that way. The joke I make is there's actually one other Modern Samurai project out there. He's like this nouveau ballet dancer in Japan or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. The joke I make, I don't know, that might be me too. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. But you'll find me that way. Probably the thing that I'm on the most is Instagram. It's just easy, post cool pictures. It's easy to, without falling too far into politics like I do on Facebook.
I'll tell you what, I would leave Facebook and Instagram if it wasn't for the instructors that I follow.
Well, how else are you going to get free advertising, my man?
That's right.
The same thing with YouTube. It's all free advertising. Everyone's like, some of the older crop of instructors like, he's blah, blah, blah. It's just about marketing. It's like, yeah, I didn't get a sub 1 second draw on demand by it and teach other people how to do it with marketing, right? But a little known story is, how the FBI found me?
How's that?
YouTube.
Now that is a great testament to what YouTube can. That they could find anyone they want right in the world. Let's look on YouTube for a red dot instructor.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Well, Scott, thanks so much. It's been an honor having you on. And again, we have so many guests on that we want to train under and will train under. It's just, too little ammo, too little time, but I'm going to look for your classes and hopefully meet you sometime soon. And hopefully I can get my other two partners along. So
That'd be great, man. Just let me know, and we'll make it happen. Where are you at? I don't know if you want to
No. That, I say it all the time because we're hosting Cecil Birch here in Tulsa, Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh, okay. Well, I would invite you to my Wanted Mead Hall there in Oklahoma City, but it's sold out.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, that's all right. Well, I'll look for another one that's coming around soon. I've like I said,
Okay.
I've got that Tom Givens instructor development class next month, but man, I have the most fun ever going to these classes. So,
Oh yeah,
it's a blast.
absolutely.
Man, again, just thanks so much for coming on, Scott. We appreciate it.
I appreciate the time, man.
Thank you.
Well, I think it's time we head into accountability, and I'm just going to kick it off. We're not screwing around. Anyway,
rock and roll.
Let's do it.
So I've had a pretty interesting week. I did get 4 CrossFit workouts in. Did a fair amount of lifting in those workouts. We're in a strength cycle right now, so a little less burpees, a little less box jumps, and a fair amount of lifting. And I'm also doing a little bit of Murph prep, doing a lot of pull-ups and push-ups. Coming off of that injury, I'm still kind of favoring that hamstring, so I'm not running yet, but been pushing the upper body and getting that upper body strength, and it's made a big difference. I'm not happy I got hurt, but I am happy with the results that I've gotten out of the way that I've changed my workouts to accommodate that injury. So that's been really cool. I did shoot a little bit this week. Was not a specific drill, but I was doing some draw, shoot body of center mass. And then I actually practiced some focused, head box shots on a IPSC target. And I wasn't trying to speed fire, but I was definitely doing a cadence. I was doing a less than 1 second cadence at 10 yards. And, out of an entire 17 round magazine, I got all but 2 in the box. And those 2 were just not keeping my eye on the front sight and realigning. I mean, I knew when it happened that I did it. So I was definitely calling my shots and I knew what was happening. So that was an interesting exercise. It's kind of like, it's not quite a bill drill, but shooting quickly, not hesitating and getting backup shot, and trying to keep them in that small, it's about a 3.5 inch circle, I think, on those targets. And aside from that, I got a little flying in this week. There was a little interesting thing that happened to me this week. I got to have my instructor get out of the plane and do a lap by myself. And that was actually my first solo this week. So that's a little...
Man, that is awesome, Brian.
Kind of a big deal. Kind of a big deal when you're learning to fly. The first time you get to fly the plane by yourself. And it was super cool because we did this at a... not really remote, but it was an off airport location. So it was not a traditional, tarmac strip. I also did it in my own plane, which happens to be a tail wheel. I have quite a few hours of tail wheel at this point. So I also consequently resulted in a tail wheel endorsement that day as well. So two kind of big deals and, pretty cool. So I'm going to keep pursuing that venture with the weather getting better and the days lasting longer. That's going to get easier. So that's about it for me this week. What do you got, Eric?
Well, guys, I will tell you, it's been a really, really cool week for me. I'm going to start off with the bad news, I should say, and that's that I did not shoot this week. I've been having a real tough time. Yeah, go ahead and put the boo in there, fellas. Boo. As the audience knows, I just moved to a new location, and I'm still trying to find a good range home where I can actually train. And I think I actually may have found one. So this is kind of cool news. I ran into one of my neighbors, and we had hit it off a time or two before, but he invited me to a range that's not well known, but it's one of those ranges where you can actually train. So he's actually an SF soldier. I won't say a whole lot about him and his situation because I don't know him that well just yet, but we're headed to the range this Saturday, and it sounds like we're going to do some running and gunning. So
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to some carbine and pistol with him. And so that's kind of the tall tale that, hey, I've got to pick up my shooting. Now on the flip side, guys, I picked up on my dry fire, which I'm always dry firing. Everybody knows that, but I got my my dry fire dojo really fully set up. And so what I've done, guys, and it's not like it's that profound, but I've got a cork board that I get to rearrange my little scale targets into various arrays. And I'm like, why didn't I do this before? And so I've been having fun with that this week, kind of mixing up a lot more transition stuff because I think I've been neglecting my transition. So I've dry fired 5 times this week using my new setup, and it's been a blast. So as far as jiu-jitsu, the current gym that I'm training at only has a few classes a week, so that's kind of become a challenge. But as far as with work, but I've been there twice this week, and I'll tell you guys, man, it is amazing to be on the mats. You know, everybody that knows how much we love jiu-jitsu, it's been awesome, and I've been meeting some really good people I'm trusting, you know, with always dealing with the back and all those things. So I also met a guy that happens to be in my neighborhood. And guess what? He trains in his garage. So we're going to start training together as well. So that's another real awesome
Sweet.
aspect of it. Yeah, I'm pumped about it. And so yeah, great time on the mats, getting a lot done there, feeling a lot more comfortable with kind of this really crappy year for jiu-jitsu. So as far as my workouts go, guys, I flipped to a cardio-centric cycle. We just had a guest that we interviewed last night, soon to be released, that I've been following his recommendations for several years, and so I'm on a cardio cycle, partially to get ready for the Cecil Birch event that we got going on. So I'm down to 3 cardio workouts a week and 1 single lift day, and so I've been mixing up pure cardio with cardiac power and cardio intervals for 3 workouts. And so actually, guys, I've been enjoying it, you know, just for a change, not just focusing on strength and cardio, but just focusing on my cardio. So as far as that goes, guys, I think that's going to do it for me this week. What you got, Aaron?
Well, so I'll go ahead and start I will go ahead and start with my workouts. You guys know I keep it pretty simple, but I'm doing something. So I've had 2 about 40-minute cardio workouts this week, and throughout those, let me digress a little bit. Each time I'm warming up with quite a bit of mobility exercise, and then once I get So, and then once I get warmed up on the treadmill for a bit, I'll take a quick break and I'll do some reps of squats, and then I'll get back on the treadmill, then get back off and do some reps of pull-ups, assisted pull-ups, by the way. Again, I just want to make that
pull-up
clear.
bar?
It's about to get hung up in my garage, Eric, I promise. But by the way, guys, he's talking about a pull-up bar he bought for me probably a year ago. So
I was in Iraq at the time when I bought it, so it's been a little while.
Yeah, I'm just having to work on making a spot for it in my garage.
I know, brother. Just razzing you, man.
Oh yeah. So and then I would throw in then I would take some reps on some push-ups too. I'm keeping it real simple, guys, but I too am making sure that I'm getting a little bit, getting my heart ready for the Cecil Birch event. We got to remember to make sure everybody knows about that. Go to Cecil Birch's immediate. What's his website again? Sorry, guys.
Immediate Action IAcombatives.com.
Yeah, his class here in Tulsa, Oklahoma at Clinch Martial Arts, July 16th through the 18th. make sure you check that out and get with us and try and come to that class. It's going to be awesome. But, okay, so for jiu-jitsu, I'm not going a ton these days because of a few other things, but I did hit open mat tonight and got some good coaching. And again, yes, I'm very thankful I can get on the mats too, Eric. I know Brian has had a hard time getting to the mats too, so I'm definitely thankful for that. Now, let's see here. For dry fire, now I've got a few affirmation statements that I'm working on, and one of them includes some shooting improvements, and part of that, I am now dry firing 30 minutes a day, and usually a couple of sessions, maybe a little more than that, maybe a little less, but I'm shooting for the average of 30 minutes a day, and I'm doing a lot of micro drills. And I'm doing a ton of, since I'm still new to the red dot, I'm doing a ton of draws to acquiring that dot, not even pulling the trigger. I'm micro drilling my draw stroke into 3 sections and cutting that down. Usually right now I'm splitting that into 3 sections, 0.5 seconds each. And I'm trying to keep that and speed up my draw. And that's from my IDPA rig, by the way. So, yeah, and I did about 50 draws today at lunchtime.
Nice, man.
Since I work from home, that's pretty cool. Yeah, so 50 draws. Now, my shooting, I have been able to get to the range the last few weeks. Now, this last weekend, I practiced, let's see here, what did I practice? I worked on the 5x5 IDPA classifier a bit and focused on the 4 to the body, 1 to the head, and then the strong hand only shots, because even with my dot, I'm still needing to work on those. So, but I am going to hit the range tomorrow because I've got the day off tomorrow, so that's going to be awesome, a good time. Now, one last thing, I think you guys maybe saw me talking about this. My good friend and whom I consider the coolest guitar builder in the world, Saul Cole, is finally finishing up my guitar that I ordered 4 years ago.
Nice.
4 years. But it's well worth it because it's going to be a masterpiece, and I'm honored that it is going to be a new model of mine. It's called the AD16, and when that thing's done, I'll show some of that on Instagram and our socials.
Well, man, Aaron, I'm going to stop you there for a second. I think that's when that comes in, we definitely have to record a song with it and highlight that.
Oh, sure, 100%. And I've been passing around some riffs with you, so yeah. Well, that was actually one of the first things I was thinking about, was record some new music. But yeah, I can't wait. It was just this week we've been going back and forth on some final details. We are actually down to one final design issue, and that's the inlays on the fretboard. He came up with some that I thought were really cool, but not for this guitar. And it's pretty amazing when he cuts and does some inlays in a probably $300 or $400 piece of Brazilian rosewood fretboard. And I say, man, I don't like those. Sorry, dude. No problem, man. I'll put it on another guitar. We've got some more Brazilian rosewood. So we're working on those, and that will finish it up. So that's it for me, guys. Fun show. I love hearing your guys' accountability and just seeing you guys and talking to you guys.
Man, I miss both you guys, man. Big time. Can't wait to hang out with you guys soon.
Oh, yeah. We need to get the band back together.
That's right.
Man, definitely get the band back together, run through some tunes.
Nice.
So,
well, I think that's about all we got for this week, man.
Will you guys take it easy?
Have a good one. See you next time, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.